Good afternoon, David Saber here. Has the meeting started yet?
Right, okay.
Yes.
Okay, see you again. Good afternoon, everybody. Apologies for that. Apparently our supper room was on mute, so nobody heard any of the introductory comments. Welcome to the North Sydney Local Planning Panel. My name is Alison McCabe and I'm the chair. Before we begin proceedings, I'd like to acknowledge the Camaragal people, the traditional custodians on the land on which we are gathered today. I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and I extend that respect to any First Nations people joining us today. As I said, my name's Alison McCabe and I'm the chair. Today's panel comprises myself, John McFadden to my immediate left, Vanessa Holtham to my immediate right, and Carla Castellanos to my far right. Carla is North Sydney Council's community representative on the panel, and John and Vanessa are the members appointed from the minister's list. Today we don't have any apologies on the panel, and we've all signed our declarations of interest and indicated that we have no declarations of interest in relation to any of the matters coming before the panel today. Also in the room today is Isabel Lukic, the team leader, and Miranda, who is assisting the panel in our work. Today's meeting will be considering 3 applications. Those 3 applications I'm just going to go through at the moment are item 1 for a development application at 34 to 36 Camaray Road, Camaray. That application's for the demolition of existing structures, Torrens Title subdivision and construction of 2 semi-detached dwellings and associated works. Item 2 is for 246 to 254 Military Road, Neutral Bay. That application involves the demolition of existing structures and the construction of a 6-storey mixed-use development comprising a retail commercial use at basement ground floor and a boarding house accommodation with rooftop communal living spaces and associated works. Item 3 is 32 Milson Road, Cremorne Point, and involves alterations and additions to a dwelling house, including a 2-storey pavilion-style addition and spa pool, car parking and landscaping. I just want to make a few opening comments about how the meeting will run today and the way the panel looks at these matters. The panel's responsibility is to consider the material presented to us in an unbiased and transparent way and to make decisions in accordance with our responsibilities under the planning framework applicable to development applications. As you appreciate, we are running this public meeting on a Teams platform, which means it's very important that people keep their devices on mute and that nobody speaks unless I actually invite them to speak. It's important that everybody be able to
It's my cable. It's about muted us.
Okay, I'm just going back to, I'm not sure where we started recording, but anyhow, this meeting is a public meeting. Thank you, Robert, that is being recorded. We are on a Teams environment, so it's very important that nobody speak unless I invite them to. As I said, the meeting's being recorded. That meeting recording will be available on Council's website, generally within 3 or 4 days of the meeting. That recording is available to any persons in accordance with the relevant regulations. The panel has had the opportunity to visit the site We have had the opportunity to read the detailed council reports and the attachments to those reports, which includes the recommendations, the proposed conditions of consents, those applications that have clause 4.6s. We have copies of those and have read those. We have detailed plans in front of us, so we are across the detail of the application, particularly actually having had the opportunity to go to the site. We also have copies, as I said, of the submissions received and have been able to look at those as well. So with that, the way today will run is that each item, there are a number of people who have registered to speak. I will invite first those who've made submissions to speak first, and then the applicant on each item. Once I've dealt with each item, there will be no further discussion in the public forum on that item. So those people don't need to feel that they need to hang around for the rest of the matters, but are very welcome to do so. Once we've heard from everybody on each item, the meeting will then be closed to the public, and the panel will then deliberate on the application, consider what we've heard today, and formulate our decision on the matter. Those decisions will be uploaded again to Council's website, usually within 3 or 4 days of the meeting as well. Those who are presenting generally have 5 minutes to make a presentation. Given the nature of the meeting, it's 3 minutes. Sorry, correct me if I'm wrong. It's 3 minutes to make a presentation. We'll try and keep to, it'd be appreciated if people try and keep to that time. That doesn't matter, that doesn't mean that we won't. If there's very key things that we need to hear, then we will take the time to hear it. As I said, it's important to understand that this isn't a debate. This is about the panel making sure that we're across all the issues and that we understand everybody's concerns or otherwise with the application. So what you'll see is the panel members, we may ask questions of you as well. Please refrain from making any inappropriate comments or reflections against any person who is either present or not at the meeting. The panel is interested in the issues under consideration and not personalities. So with that, I'm going to move to item 1, which is the development application at 32 to 34 Camaray Road. Right, sorry, 34 to 36, sorry. 34 to 36 Camaray Road, Camaray. The only person I've got registered to speak is Max Chipchase and Robert Salerno. So Max, I understand you're the applicant, so I'm going to throw to you. And I'm sure if you can let us know if Robert wants to say something as well.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah, Robert and myself, Max Chipchase from Chipchase Planning's a proponent, and Robert is the landowner. I just want to do it was mainly just for if there was any questions and issues to respond to, but I'll just do a quick broad brush overview of the development and also of how we've come here today. Historically, we do currently have an active DA, which was approved on the 1st of December 2021. That was just for the subdivision of the site, which was approved by the panel. The reason why we have now elected to, and it is a condition for this to forfeit the DA, is because we wanted to do the built form as well, as the combined built form, purely because of the abortive works that we needed to do in order to change the current dwelling to meet the semi-detached built form requirement under the regulation. So I just wanted you to be mindful of that. When we submitted the DA, we did a very, very comprehensive urban design analysis, which did comply with building heights and all built form controls. As part of the public exhibition, we received one submission from the neighbour, which we had additional information council sent from council, which outlined 4 key items: solar access, privacy, landscaping and trees. The big one for us was the immensity impacts and the solar access, and we wanted to consider and appease what the neighbour did put forward. So we did do additional information response, which included further overshadowing analysis, and we did reduce the first floor by 1 metre, which provided limited overshadowing or reduced overshadowing to the neighbour's rear yard. Owing to its east-west orientation, we did a further urban design analysis and we reduced the building by an extra 2 metres, and that showed a negligible impact due to the orientation of the site, and that is down. That's purely across all of Camaray Road. So we did openly provide that report, which showed another reduced scheme, which showed insignificant impact as part of that, as well as the other issues for privacy that were considered in the submission. We also provided opaque windows and provided other privacy measures in order to mitigate that, as well as completely satisfying all of the landscaping and tree requirements that were put forward from council's landscape department. So we believe that we considered and satisfied all that we can, and have put forward this proposal as part of that. And I wasn't going to speak today, but I thought I'd just give that overview. But mainly we're here if there are issues that the panel may have. So that's really why the capacity that we'll be here today, and Robert won't be speaking.
All right. Okay. Well, thanks, Max. I'm just going to open it up to the panel to see if there's any queries or questions. Vanessa, did you want to?
I just wanted to ask a question in relation to the rock face and whether there was, it looks like there's a minor amount of work proposed there just to shave off that wedge bit. Is that correct? We couldn't really reconcile it with the survey. So could you just talk to that a little bit?
Yep, no worries. So there's the rock outcrop to the rear of the site, and we did have our geotech engineer inspect that. And there's a big fracture and splinter in that outcrop, and the outcrop is quite high, but the outcrop section, to which is about waist height, about 1 to 2 meters maybe, that's where that fracture is in that rock. And it was advised by the geotech engineer to remove that, and to do it whilst you're demolishing the existing house as part of that construction process. So they recommended that as a safety hazard, and we recommended to actually remove that. And we thought that we could benefit from that dwelling as well to enable more open, or to enable an area which is practical, given that that will be removed. It is only, I think the depth of that is, the depth wasn't identified to be of any impact to the broader outcrop as to what the geotech has advised. So we, as part of this DA, proposed to completely excavate and remove that section.
Okay, thank you.
Max, just picking up on that, how does that, I'm looking at the plans, there's some red on the plans that says rock outcrop, proposed partial removal, existing rock outcrop. Where did you figure out how much to take? Because when we've looked at the survey plan, there doesn't seem to be a lot of information actually on the survey plan in terms of the surveying of the rock face.
Yep.
So again, we're just particular about ensuring that only the bit that needs to go. So I'm just wondering where that area came from, because doesn't reconcile easily with the survey plan.
Yeah, so I believe it was demarcated or governed by, I think it was the height, because there is an extreme variance from the lower outcrop to the higher, and the higher that being the actual cliff face. So I believe that was demarcated by the height as such.
Yep. Thank you. Carla?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My question is with regards to how do you currently gain access to maintain the rear of the property above the existing rocky outcrop?
To remain access to the outcrop, which is about 5 to 10 metres above natural ground level from the rear backyard. Is that the question?
Yes, how do you gain access to that part of the site?
I
Max,
believe.
something-
Yeah,
Oh,
you're
sorry,
right.
Max. I can jump in there. So previously there was a stairway. It wasn't probably an approved. It was essentially in disrepair. And we have had maintenance crews come in on a regular basis, sort of once a year. And they're essentially trained arborists and landscapers that can abseil. So basically, we've had a few that have come throughout the period, and we probably have to continue just to make sure that we do that as part of the process of maintenance, as opposed to putting any kind of stairway there. So essentially, it's a matter of climbing up on the section. There's a platform, a raised area, which can be accessed via a ladder, and then obviously they need to abseil or, I guess, harness in to the existing trees, rock face, etc., to be able to undertake maintenance. So that's how it's been done to date, and I propose, I guess, that would need to continue just for maintenance. And obviously, it is natural sort of bushland, effectively, for want of a better term. And effectively, there's a few sort of weeds, etc., that we've tried to manage and maintain. And the idea is to remove them entirely, and obviously, again, ensure that we're just managing that and maintaining that essentially once every year or once every sort of 18 months. That's what's been happening to date.
And with the rock removal that is scheduled to occur, is there any chance that by removing part of the rock, that will become scalable?
No. So the rock that's proposed to be removed is on the left-hand side, so number 34. In terms of scale, no, it'll essentially mean that it's a much sharper, sort of steeper, flat fronted face, if that makes sense, like the other side. And effectively, unless you have a sort of 2 or 3 metre ladder, and even then it'll be difficult to scale. So it won't be something that essentially kids or people can climb upon, or a safety risk in that from that perspective.
And my last question is, you have a quite substantial amount of non-habitable areas on the basement level and a large space at the rear that is earmarked as basement. What is the program to go in there, and what you intend to use that area for?
Sorry, just to confirm, are we talking about the basement behind the garage area? Is that correct? Yeah. So basically, that'll be for services such as water tank, network, electrical networking, etc., and potentially just basic storage. That was the intention of that area. So obviously, not sort of rooms for habitation, but essentially, storage. There are some services that are looking to be included there. So the rainwater tanks is proposed to go into that area, or just behind at the rear there, and potentially, depending on the pool, there's a pool on the 36 side, potentially pool equipment or heating services, etc.
Just to clarify that, you already have an area that is labeled store, but the rear room is labeled basement. What would be the difference between them?
So the rear is kind of back of house maintenance, servicing, And the storeroom is for general storage that is related to living. So anything that you would typically store in a garage, such as, I don't know, surfboards, ladders, whatever that may be, is for the storeroom itself. And the basement is more considered back of house maintenance, servicing, or capacity to take servicing and the like. So that's the main differentiation, because the storeroom is just behind where the garage is and is for general items. So that's the differentiation between the two.
Thank you. I have no more questions.
I'm just going to pick up on that. Probably just looking at the extent of excavation and the amount of storage and basement, what's the reason that it protrudes past the alignment of the building? When I look at the levels, I think I've got that right. When you look at where your living area is, I can understand, you know, basement and storage under the general alignment of the building, but there seems to be a number of elements that are protruding further towards the west. And the comment about, and don't get me wrong, I understand the desire for storage, but you know, there's rainwater tanks and OSD areas that are protruding past the alignment of the building. I'm just wondering what why? Like, I get that there's excavation happening with the building. Why are we excavating out beyond the building?
Yeah, so I'll speak first and I'll hand over to Rob. But yeah, so we originally had the basement, so the rear building line of the basement aligns with the rear deck area, and we originally had that as the basement. I understand the client Robert then he looked at it with a few builders from a constructability point of view. And I believe that additional area allowed for easier access to those maintenance and servicing and stormwater requirements. And it was advised by the builder at that time. And that's why we included those spaces to the rear. Robert, I don't know if you want to touch further to that, because that's kind of how it came about in that design process, if you recall.
Yeah, so essentially we were sort of extended to in line with the building, and there's a slight extension beyond. For example, the rainwater tanks need maintenance access, and that's where they've suggested that the best way to do that was to have that slightly beyond the existing to allow access. And I guess it was the better spot in terms of for the site in order to facilitate that kind of service. And also it required maintenance, because when we first designed it, it was simply in line, and that additional, I think it's a small amount beyond, maybe a half a metre or a little bit.
2 meters, 2 meters, yeah.
Yeah, beyond was for the purpose of gaining access for that equipment, as Bag suggested. So we spoke to a number of builders in terms of I guess the construction process, and that was where that's why that came about, I guess.
All right. John, do you have any questions?
Madam Chair, thank you. With respect to the landscape plan, on site this morning, we noticed that adjacent to the area where the proposed pool is located, there's an existing hedge which provides a degree of effective screening. And I understand that hedge is to be removed as part of the proposal, specifically in relation to the landscape plan which has been prepared by Space, as attached to the documentation we have before us. There does not appear to be any replacement landscaping alongside the pool, noting that the levels of the adjoining property appear to be consistent with the levels on the subject site. And in the absence of any dense landscaping along that boundary, there's a very real possibility of overlooking or privacy impacts along that boundary. Would you be able to clarify, please, what landscaping is proposed alongside the pool which is on the site or proposed on the site.
Max, you want to talk to that first? I mean, I have some. I can give a bit of an overview of how that came about.
Yeah, you go first, Rob.
Yeah.
And I'll support you.
Yeah. So essentially, I planted that sort of hedge not that long ago. It's very fast growing viburnums. They're quite quick to grow. So before that, there was just a fence line with a sort of shrubs, etc. And it's actually grown quite quickly and dense over the last sort of couple of years. It's my understanding, though, that with the pool that we actually can't maintain a hedge, and that's what I thought that was a requirement from both our architect in terms of compliance with the pool area. I mean, it would be my preference to have some kind of hedging there. So, but as I understand, we weren't able to maintain a hedge or like that hedge or a similar hedge. So the intention was to put effectively a fence and some kind of screening in place of that. But obviously, if there is an option to have a sort of green hedge in place, that was our preference anyway.
Thank you. So I know, and you may be able to confirm, that the actual pool fence is set back off the boundary in that location where the proposed pool is located. And I guess the concern here is that we have the rear private open space of the adjoining development that's going to be left very exposed. And obviously there's the potential there for a reduction in amenity when privacy is reduced to that extent. I'm also somewhat concerned about the integrity of some of the plans relying upon information regarding the rock ledge when it's not clearly shown in detail in the survey. And ideally, what I would like to see is that rock ledge shown in detail so that we understand exactly what is to be removed, because the area that is to be removed of that rock ledge is not entirely clear when we're standing on site. It's quite ambiguous. So there's those details, and also, of course, the clause 4.6, which I'll be reviewing. So thank you.
I'll just respond to that just for a little bit more clarity as well, if that's all right, Chair.
Yep, go for it.
Yep. So just with your first concern that you've raised in terms of the just the privacy and amenity, and with so this is lot 2 next to the pool. If there are concerns with the neighbour, what we have tried to, throughout the proposal, for majority of the proposal more towards the east, is we have included planters to the side of the property to enable sufficient growth of plantation to allow additional buffer. We've also allowed for that where the proposed deck area is. So if the chair is concerned with the privacy to that pool and there's a requirement for some sort of landscaping to soften that, I don't think it's anything we would be opposed to if there is concern on that. So that's on the northern side. On the southern, in terms of that outcrop area, if you look at the plant or the landscape plan, we do have RLs that are stated on the plan, which might give a bit more indication or on the heights of the outcrop. So with the lower outcrop area, you can see the RL levels of 57.59 and 60.65, and then the upper outcrop area is 63. So that area is it's well over nearly 3 meters in height, which shows that clear delineation between the outcrop of the lower and higher tiers. So if you are needing further detail on that, you can rely on those RLs or whether a detailed survey is required in order to ascertain that position, then it's something else we can maybe look at organising in order to facilitate your need.
Right. Thanks, Max. I did have a question about the 4.6.
Yep.
I know that 4.6 got changed at the end of last year.
Yep.
I think you might have used your 4.6 from the last application.
Yep.
Your framework and your references are the old version.
Yep.
So my question is, how long would it take you to redo it to be consistent with the structure of 4.6 in the North Sydney LEP as it exists today?
Probably a couple days. I could get that over.
As I said, the references aren't correct, and there's been new guidelines released as well, but mainly to do with references, and the probably there's a few too many words, I suspect, and you can probably tighten it up.
Yep.
Panel members, other questions? Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. I've just got one question, perhaps for Raymond. Long section 2, and maybe I'm misreading the section. It looks like the basement stops at the back of the living room before you get to the deck. And then when you look at, I've got them on the screen, so zooming out, the basement looks on plan like it extends not only the full basement beyond the deck, but obviously the water tank goes further. So should we just be disregarding long section 2? Is that incorrect, or am I reading it incorrectly? No, it's not where the section cuts through.
Yeah,
But
Raymond.
it cuts there. Even if it cuts through there, it's way back there. Did you hear that, Raymond? Sorry, you weren't on screen.
Raymond's not on the call.
Robert's the owner.
Yeah, sorry. I might need to refer that, Max. We probably need to refer that to Raymond. Or I just.
Sorry, I thought he was there. No, sorry about that.
So looking at the plan
number? So.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at proposed long section. Yeah.
Long section 1 or 2?
Long section 2. Fine, we can take it. It's fine.
So comparing long section 2 to, sorry, which plan? Is it
just the basement. Yeah,
so
just
the proposed lower ground floor, is that the one?
Yeah, it's not through. It's taken at a different.
But even if it's taken at a different,
that's right. It's right.
Even if it's taken at a different.
Yeah.
Even if it's taken at a different.
Under the living area.
No,
that's right.
It's fine.
Okay.
Look, we'll figure it out. Look at it. No, it's definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, hopefully.
All right.
Hopefully it's correct. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll interrogate that a bit more. Kind of ties into some of that questions about the extent of basement as well.
Yeah.
Panel members, any other queries or questions on this matter?
Quickly, your long section 1 labels a space as a gym. Where is that on plan?
Stair.
Or the store.
I believe it's a storeroom.
Or, yeah, storage.
The labelling issue.
Or gym, yeah.
But is that a habitable space? No, it's ventilation.
No.
Thank you.
No further.
All right, thank you. Max and Robert, thank you very much for taking the time to be available to answer questions. As I said, we won't be discussing this in public any further, and we'll be at the end of the meeting, we'll be closing it and then deliberating on the matters that we've got in front of us and doing a slightly more deeper dive into some of those plans as well. So thank you very much. Happy for you to stay on the line, but don't feel that you need to. As said, your matter won't be discussed any further in public. Thank you very much. Moving on to item 2. So item 2 is 246 to 254 Military Road, Neutral Bay. I have one person registered to speak, David Saba. David, are you there?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me, or do I need to?
I can. I can't see you, but we can definitely hear you.
Right. Okay. I'm on a phone. Yep.
You have the floor.
I have the floor. Oh, okay. Sorry. David Saba. I'm from 3 to 5 Waters Road. We adjoin the proposed development of 246 at the southwestern corner. We put in an objection on the 3rd of November, and you probably have that in front of you, or you have access to that?
Yes, we do.
You do, right. So
Yep.
I don't need to go in detail, but predominantly we're concerned about the loss of amenity from the proposal, in particular the building separation. We've got some windows on our development, which we believe are about 6 to 7 metres away from the windows of the proposal. And the apartment design guide recommends 12 metres, 6 metres on each side, basically the boundary. I can't see that we have anywhere near that, so we're grossly concerned about the loss of privacy to our units and deterioration of value as well. We would also like to see some landscaping on the other side of the fence, so that to improve the privacy. We've recommended that possibly a few units be deleted. I think it was 119 and 37 to improve the loss of amenity. The building height, I believe it's 1 story above the LEP, so we would like to see that brought back to where it is, where it's supposed to be. We also have an issue with stormwater. There are no stormwater details. Currently, there's a stormwater pit in the back of 246 that drains through Bougainvillea, which is our next door neighbours. We need to make sure that is, either maintained or the stormwater gets collected or recycled, sent out to Military Road. We need to make sure that the stormwater issue is addressed. Basically, that's all our issues. We support the recommendation of the council officer, which was refusal. That's all we have to say. Thank you.
Thanks, David. That's clear. And as I said, we do have your submission, and council has considered that in their report, and you're across what that recommendation is. So I'm just seeing if there's any questions from the panel members. No, your position's very clear. As said, we've got no questions for you. We were out there this morning, so we were able to observe your balconies and the proximity of your building to the rear of this property. So we understand that position. So thanks, David, for that. You're the only person who'd been registered to speak on that matter. So that will be all our discussion in public on item 2. So again, don't feel that you need to hang on, but you're very welcome to hang on and listen to the next item if you are of a mind to do so.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. I think I'll sign off now. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Moving on to item 3, which is the development application at 32 Milson Road, Cremorne Point. I understand Peter Hosking, who's the architect, is available online to speak. Peter, I can see you. You have the floor.
Hello, how's everybody? This is a tremendously exciting project in that we are a heritage listed building in a very significant location in Sydney with the foreshore there. So it's been somewhat of a journey to get to where we've got to with everybody's help, particularly working closely with council. I think the first submission we did didn't hit the mark, and we sort of took stock of the concerns that were raised by council. We in particular spent a lot more time working with our heritage consultant and Lucinda at council and Andrew, and went through their particulars in terms of detail in relation to the restoration of the heritage item. And I believe we got to a great result, effectively restoring the building whilst maintaining a building that will work as a home into the future, which is exciting. We do have some issues with some of the, there's a significant rock outcrop, which we would like to keep. There are some significant landscaping elements, both on our property and on the adjoining property. And we have not yet resolved a final design for how we're going to effectively save all the trees. It is certainly our intention to keep all the trees because they provide a great deal of privacy for us and the neighbours. There's one tree in particular whose roots zone is encroaching onto our new development at the rear. Now that building may need to get smaller, or we may need to come up with a clever structural solution. The intention there is we'll do some root investigations with our arborist and speak with our engineers and back with council to try and resolve the recommendation for that deferred commencement. Other than that, there's not much more for me to add.
Okay, thanks, Peter. You probably touched on one of the things that we're going to be asking about. Panel members, queries, questions?
Sure.
So,
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. My first question is, how do you intend to gain access to the rooftop garage for maintenance?
This is a good question.
Of the planter, of the roof garden.
Yeah, so we'd have a roof access ladder that we could store in the garage and get up there, and it'll be a fully trafficable space. There's actually one that's been built further down the street. I don't know if you noticed it. It's at the end of the cul-de-sac, further down. And that was where that sort of idea came from, because we felt that that provided a nice amenity to the streetscape. Yeah.
Just maybe you misspoke. Did you say fully trafficable or?
Yes, fully trafficable. So it'll be a concrete structure that you can walk on with the plants. Yep.
Because it shows, maybe we're misreading the plans, because I've read that as a green roof and would expect
a green roof that you can walk around on.
Would expect it to be non-trafficable.
Trafficable in the sense that you can stand up there and walk around and maintain the garden. That's basically what I was trying to say there. So it'll take the load of someone up there, you know, maintaining the plants.
So just so we're clear, maintenance purposes only?
Correct.
Oh,
There's no intention to use that space for any other purpose than just garden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My next question is, you propose to have the staircase reinstated. What is the ultimate head height underneath the landing?
So that's the existing staircase in the house?
You proposed it for it to be reinstated. And
that's correct.
What would be the final room head height underneath the landing?
It's off the top of my head, it's like 2100. Did you have the opportunity to go into the dwelling today?
No, we did not.
Yeah, so you do have access underneath the stair, and you can walk through there. It is tight, you know, but you can walk through. At the moment, it's sort of half deconstructed, and they've covered up the actual stair void. You can't actually adequately get through there at the moment, but that would all be taken out and reinstated because it's a lovely staircase, and it would form quite an important feature in the overall reinstatement of the heritage item.
Thank you. The ensuite in your master bedroom currently doesn't have a sink. Is there a reason for that?
Oh, it definitely will. That might be just a bit of a CAD glitch. It will definitely have a sink in there. Yes.
Okay. And last question is, how do you propose, or what is the process by which you will donate the ESSE fireplace to council? Is that been resolved?
Look, that was a discussion we had with council. They felt that it would be nice for us to offer that if we're not going to be reusing it. So I'm not exactly sure how logistically that will happen, but we'll have to look into that. That was along the discussions when we went to site with Lucinda and Andrew, and we talked about, we did actually change our design quite a bit following that meeting, and we did reinstate one of the fireplaces, but one of them we couldn't. So we felt that it would be nice if it could be, maybe placed somewhere.
And the conditions, I believe, state that fireplace is to remain in situ. Would you have an objection to that?
I don't think so.
In the master bedroom.
Yeah, in the master bedroom, that fireplace is fine. Yes, originally we had a very different design. Lucinda was very keen to keep the integrity of those two large rooms, and she also was keen for us to. We originally had the ensuite within that space, and that's when we moved it to that other space.
No, he's confused.
So,
No, just to clarify, we're not talking about the fireplace. We're talking about the ESSE fire appliance. The stove.
Right.
If that was to remain in situ, you have an objection to that?
I'm not sure how practical that would be.
Okay. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I don't have no more.
I'm not sure how practical that would be. I mean, it's a master bedroom.
I'm not a heritage architect, but is there somewhere else other than the master bedroom that it could go in the house?
Possibly.
Yeah, as I said, that was whether that.
I mean, we haven't done the detailed design of the kitchen. It might. There may be a place we could put it in there. That's a possibility. Yeah.
I'm going to pick up on that last point, Peter, because I think there's going to be a few questions about that. We took a long time to figure out what was actually happening to the actual house.
Yep.
And then mentioned you still haven't finished the kitchen design, and just probably obvious points for us. From the outside, we looked at the shingles on the reserve side, and they look pretty damaged. And just wondering, what's happening to that. We've got notations on the plans that always worry us with heritage items that say replace if practicable. So is there a set of plans that have been, and I'm asking this because this is a heritage item, as we understand, and the application does involve the works and some quite substantial new work. So we would be looking to make sure we understood what was happening to the heritage item. Is there an actual proper set of plans that kind of has resolved some of these issues?
So what typically happens, I've done quite a few heritage projects over the years. What typically happens at this DA level is we commit to the restoration. At the moment, prior to us doing any work, when the owners first purchased the house, the actual roof was in serious disrepair, and already they have replaced like for like on the roof, and that was approved because the house was leaking badly. And because of that, and I think that had been leaking for close to a decade. So we're anticipating there will be quite a lot of timber rot. There'll be quite a lot of the shingles that will need replacing. We're anticipating there'll be quite a substantial rebuild in terms of structural elements. And we will have appointed our heritage architect that will prepare a statement as part of our construction certificate And alongside that, there will be inspections required by council heritage officer to come out and inspect prior to construction of any of these works and sign off on colours and materiality before they are installed in accordance with that statement. And in the past, that process has worked very well. So as part of the DA, we're committing to the restoration. We are not sure until we open this building up exactly how much structural work and other work we will need to do to keep the building standing. The intention is to replace like for like we have with the roof already. And it's very hard for me to document this at this stage until we have done that investigative work. But the commitment is 100% there.
I understand the commitment.
Yep.
I'm just wondering what you're asking us to approve, though. When I hear that, and when I hear the word structure, you know, I understand
Well, there's a lot of
replacing
timber
shingles with the
framing.
same thing, but I'm, as I said, I'm not now. As I said, we had some question marks, and I'm just wondering, you know, what is being asked in terms of the house.
I think that Daniel from MBRSR Heritage has detailed a lot of that in his report already.
Right.
The intent of what we're doing. I worked with Lucinda at council quite closely, and she was also had the similar concerns as you have. And I changed a lot of the wording to suit what she would like to see on the drawings. So we have certainly had that pass already, and it is certainly our intention to, you know, to restore the building. So I mean, look, if there's further detail conditions or amendments you require, that's not an issue from our side at all. It's certainly our intention.
Okay, well, thanks for that. Is there a measured, I'm presuming is there a measured up drawing of the building at this stage?
Well, we did a site measure and we've recorded all the windows and doors, and that's all part of the package. We've identified which doors and where they're going. We're keeping all the stained glass. We're in fact reinstating one of the porthole windows, which is gone. There's a number of details like that we've considered already, and there'll be further analysis, obviously. I mean, there was confusion about the balustrading, which was as to what was original and what wasn't. I know that Andrew did some archive searching at council and dug up some photos for us, and it does in fact look like that the balustrading there is in fact the original balustrading. So there's been quite a lot of toing and froing between myself, Andrew, and Lucinda. She was very concerned. Obviously, this is an important property. We talked about the new works being of a single and two-story scale that's separated from the original building, so it has some breathing space. We were very concerned about the rock outcrop, so we've really reduced the impact of the landscaping, and we've scaled that right back so that all of that can stay as it is. The only area, you know, one of the client's concerns was accessibility, so we've hopefully carefully included some accessibility with a lift, and that really drives any excavation work that we're doing, which we've tried to minimise the impact of. However, in saying that, we still need to do our tree root investigations to ensure that doesn't impact those trees.
I suppose that going back to that just kind of gives us a level of uncertainty, which we'll need to discuss further. Vanessa, do you have questions?
Yeah. Just, I won't go into it in too much detail, but just off the back of what the chair has mentioned, I guess what we'd probably be looking for, and maybe it's here and I can't see it, but just a schedule of conservation works. Some of the terms are a bit loose. I understand what you're saying in relation to getting an in-concept approval at DA, but, you know, if we're approving this as part of a whole suite of things, then we probably want to just understand a little bit more about the detail. I wondered whether you'd revise the renders at the back after the conversations with council, because I think some of your drawings show that the lattice will be removed, obviously the later edition lattice, and then the renders actually show the lattice still there. And same for, it looks like you're laying concrete on the back side, which probably wouldn't be happening now that you've had the conversations with council, because obviously it's not very good for breathability of the building, etc. So there's probably just a few elements that we probably want to iron out a little bit, because it is a pretty significant heritage item.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's
look, I think the renders were updated. I'm not sure if you've got the latest plan pack, because sometimes these things don't make it through through to you guys. It's happened to me before. We certainly have, and we do have a heritage architect, and there is a very detailed heritage report that does go through. And we've had extensive conversations with Lucinda and Andrew at council in relation to the heritage item. It's a 6 to 8 month process, so we've spent quite a lot of time on it. We are aware of the deferred commencement condition in relation to the trees, and we agree with it because we want to keep the trees. And it may mean that our new edition has to change a little bit. So that's understood, and we agree with that. This application has been with council for some time now, so we all agreed that we needed to bring it to a head, and a deferred commencement was the right way to do that, because both our arborist and the council landscape officer were concerned about the tree. And I know from experience and building these sort of projects in the past that there are ways that we can ensure that the tree will stay healthy. And I'm keen to, prior to just completely revising the design, get a better understanding of exactly where the roots are, and get a better understanding of whether there's any opportunities for us to get the best of both worlds, so to speak.
I think just in relation to, I understand what you're saying about the trees, but just in relation to what we said, you've got the report from MBRS, I understand. I haven't actually seen that report, but getting what's in there onto some plans, because effectively what we stamp is plans. So I feel like as a heritage architect would need the comfort that on plans there's something that we stamp in terms of the conservation works. But I'll leave it at that.
No problem.
John.
Madam Chair, thank you. Peter, appreciate your time this afternoon. Do you mind confirming what the soil depth is for the area of landscaping that is to the left of the proposed garage? I know that there's a tree and other plants proposed there, which appears to be elevated. What is the exact soil depth?
Are you talking off the main access off the road?
Yeah, so I'm referring specifically to DA 103.
103, hang on.
It's also shown on DA 103.
So what you have at the moment there, and you would have seen that today, is there's a car park there, and there's quite a big drop from the edge of the car park down to what is grass there at the moment, and there's a little I think a greenhouse or something just down to the left of that. I would anticipate that is very deep soil in that location. I mean, we're in an area where we have sandstone outcrops everywhere. We've obviously got that beautiful sandstone outcrop which is further down. Knowing these areas and the way those sandstone, they tend to, I have a feeling that there's probably a ledge of sandstone associated with where the road is.
Okay, let's just clarify that we're talking about the same area here. So when we are standing on the street frontage,
looking at the left-hand side,
on the left-hand side, there's an elevated area of landscaped area that is above what appears to be a constructed platform. The question that I'm asking is, what is the soil depth for that landscaped area?
and probably just adding to, is it a constructed platform? So it's there's a concrete slab that cars are parked on at the moment.
Yeah, so that concrete
That's being replaced.
That's being
and
removed and exposing
removed.
the deep soil there, and it will be as deep until it hits the rock, if there is rock there. For certainty, we're not building that up. That is natural ground. So,
well, so yeah, this is our difficulty. It's on the plans. We're not clear whether it's we're getting a slab, and it looks like it could be on one of the sections, or whether you're taking the slab away, and then your new slab's going to start with. Well, it's going to be interesting because the bedroom at that level is going to be. I'm looking at the garage level, which is at 19.450. You've got a long.
Yeah, I now understand. Thanks.
Are we getting dirt? And if we so, is it being retained?
And it's
Sorry.
landscape.
Say again.
You're getting dirt, so there will be a retaining wall along the line of the front of that building edge there. And what we're trying to do is see the cluster of trees that run down that boundary. I'm trying to limit any building works in that zone. So the idea is that we have a nice level landscaped area that presents to the street. That is deep soil in inverted commas. And there's a retaining wall there, which would be circa of about 800 or 900 mil high. And that would allow us to backfill there and essentially be level with the street. So that landscape area is at street level, with the pavement removed that's there currently, which is the parking area. And that will provide that lovely amenity to the front yard there. That's what the intention is.
I don't think your plans are showing. There's no, like, that first question is, I want to know where the retaining wall was, how high, and presumably it would go on the boundary.
It's shown in the section and elevations, that little wall. But that's fine. I can provide more detail on that if that's a concern.
And then the question was, what do you reckon, following up on John's question, what do you reckon the soil depth is there?
Oh, I'd just be guessing. I'd be speculating. It's got to be a couple of meters. It's right next to the road there. That's what I was sort of waffling on about with the escarpment and these sandstone outcrops that are everywhere. It's hard to know.
Yeah, rightio. Well, I think there's a little bit of, when I look at your elevation, and maybe when I look at your elevation, and it may be just the way plans are drawn, it would read like it's a slab. So I think there's some more information that we're going to need to understand.
It's definitely not a slab. The intention is, if you look at DA 200, there's the street elevation there. The idea is that we're trying to really soften that building impact from the street. That's why we have the landscaping on the roof of the garage, which is similar to the one at the end of the street. That seemed to be supported by council, and we thought it was a nice idea just to soften it. And then opposite, on the left-hand side of the entry, the idea was to have low-scale planting just to soften the building frontage there, which is, there's a bit of discussion there with Lucinda about having horizontal cladding in the vertical window, which is what we've done, and also the colour of that to match the building, which we've done. She wanted a more coarse rock face to the carport, which is what we've done. And we wanted to try and increase the landscape space typically throughout, which is why we've opted not to have parking there and to provide the landscape space there.
Yeah, I think where we understand that, as I said, I'm unfortunately, I'm looking at DA 200 and reading it slightly differently, but we understand your intention.
That's why I've tried to put that render. We've tried to put that render below the actual architectural drawing just to try and explain. It's hard architecturally to draw that because the section's actually cut. The elevation's cut through the road, not through the landscape.
Yeah. All right, John,
Thank you.
further questions?
No further questions.
We did, just picking up on some landscape elements, just wanting to understand there's the rock ledge element, I'm going to call it rock ledge element through the middle of the site. We're just wanting to understand how much of that is going.
Very little. So
where do I find that on the plans?
yeah, so on site today, you would have seen the existing bridge that takes you at a higher level up to the upper ground floor of the existing house. Underneath that bridge is all disintegrated ground, and to the left of that is where you have the nice sandstone face, and the intention is the only excavation work that we do is in the line of where that bridge is, and slightly over to the left, but it does not impact the significant rock outcrop, and that was something that we went through with a lot of detail with the guys at council as well on site. We all wanted to preserve that rock outcrop. So from the original plans, that reduced significantly. We had a much larger. So yeah, I think on DA 101 you can see the line of the rock outcrop, and then where the laundry/lift access is provided, which is directly underneath the line of the walkway, which is there. And on site, if you have a look, you'll see that the rock, it stops at that point.
Well, the survey, there's a line on the survey that goes kind of across the site. So maybe that's where I'm getting confused, because we're on there.
We've definitely got photos that could show you that, existing photos.
The survey I've got a line across it that talks about a rock ledge, and the laundry and the lift is while it's behind, but there's a whole heap of access from the laundry and lift into the house. So again, which seems to be getting quite close to where we saw that rock ledge, because we did stand there. So again, just a detail thing. It's quite very important. We just had it on another application. So,
and that's why we've positioned it where we have. So we're outside the line of that rock face. That was deliberate. I'm very confident that is the case.
I'm just also, there's a 4.6 that's been lodged with this, and just trying to understand some of the commentary in it, and maybe it's now out of date, and you may or may not be able to help me.
That's a bit of a Lance Doyle question, the 4.6, but
could
I can
be
try.
A Lance, yeah. Well, maybe it's out of date, but I'm just finding.
I mean, I think there's the height, right, which is an existing dwelling. And it's a portion of the house the existing house that's over. That is the only non-compliance we have. And that would be the 4.6. The new dwelling, the new component of what we're building is well below the height limit.
Yeah, maybe was there a previous proposal, or the previous version of this, were you doing something to the roof? Because there's words like the necessity of the provision of an identical roof height to the existing roof structure in accordance with council's directions. I didn't think you were doing anything to the roof.
We're not touching the roof. We are not touching the roof. So that, I don't know where Lance is talking about there. Yeah, we're not touching the roof. The roof has actually already been fixed.
All right. Okay. I don't know. Right, that's all right. We'll deal with that. Panel members, any other queries or questions? Actually, were there any proposals in terms of the landscaping outcomes to the front of the house? in your lands? What's been proposed there?
Well, so there was concerns about fences. Originally, we had fence lines and fences in, and we all agreed that we wouldn't put fences in.
Yeah.
And at this point, as part of this application, we all agreed that we would just effectively leave it as it is and effectively just tidy it up. So there is no significant design or modifications to the existing landscape at this stage. It's all very low. It's at the moment there's a half a dozen small trees and some low planting. Obviously that all needs tidying up, but that was basically the extent of what we were going to do.
And just again going back to that landscape introduction of the landscape element to the Milson Road frontage, where you're removing the slab. What are you going to do, or what do you think you would do there to stop people driving onto it?
Oh, we planted such that you couldn't park a car on it. I mean, look, council were actually kind of pushing at one point to have 4 car parking spaces due to the size of the dwelling, believe it or not. And you know, we actually wanted to maintain the landscaping. I mean, if we can get a reasonable sized tree in there, that'll definitely, you know, stop people from parking on there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was
look,
our issue.
we can actually come up a little bit as well. Like, we don't necessarily need to be, like, if we do hit sandstone straight away, we can actually come up in height with the landscaping if necessary. I mean, we could potentially investigate that if it needed. But I feel there's definitely scope to, you know, to put a lovely garden there. Yeah, which is what space of design, you know, in essence.
Okay, thanks, Peter. I think that's all our questions. We're probably going to dig a little bit further into some of the plans, but we're just, as I said, it's very important for us to actually factually understand what is being proposed. And where we're not clear, that's the reason we've been asking questions. And with these, we do expect the plans to actually be, you know, kind of be very black and white in terms of what we're dealing with. So we will have a look at that conservation management plan. Have you got another question before I finish? Okay.
Sorry.
Carla.
Thank you. Just based on what you said earlier, do I understand that with regard to the condition to respect the tree protection zone on tree T2, that your intent is to go and conduct tree root mapping before you then provide a solution or a response to that condition? Is that what I understood?
That is absolutely correct. So the only way that I can respond to that deferred commencement condition is to have the arborist do a careful tree root investigation and ascertain the health and location of any major roots that are in the area. I have a feeling, because there is a sandstone rock outcrop there, the roots could go in any direction. So I think it's important that we do that. And then, depending on what that reveals, would then we would come back to council with a response to remove the deferred commencement condition, so that there's a solution to the concern about the health of the tree.
And if I'm asking you now to assume that the roots do go to the edge of the tree protection zone that has been mapped in your plans, is the response there to then set back the building? I'm asking you to assume that the roots do go into the adjacent property.
Well, we certainly have to look at that, I think.
What the condition will say.
Yeah, there's certainly, look, there's an opportunity to cantilever the building. It's not a massive span. This is not a massive building. I mean, I could quite easily cantilever that slab over the ground and have no structure in the ground there whatsoever. There's a few options. I don't pretend to know the answer of that right now. And that's why I think the deferred commencement condition is the right solution for that, because we do need to do more homework, and we do need to come back to council with an appropriate solution that all parties will agree to. I think, you know, until we've done that, investigation, we won't really know. And it may be that we have to just pull the building line back. That would be unfortunate because it's quite a modest, plan we have, and it will have quite an impact to the amenity of the building if we lose too much more space. That's all. So,
No more questions. Thank you.
Peter, thanks for that, and thanks for clarifying.
no problem.
As I said, we've got a few things to think about on that one.
And certainly speak to Lucinda because we did spend a lot of time with her.
Yeah, we've already been briefed by council and we've had that opportunity. So thank you for that.
No problem.
Everybody online, that's the end of all the items that we're considering today. Thank you for taking the time to, one, be available to answer questions and partake in listening to the deliberations of the DAs. I'll let everybody go back to their day jobs. I'm going to close the meeting to the general public. And as I said earlier, the panel will deliberate on the matters that we've heard about today. Thank you, everybody. The meeting's closed.